So what I've learned about connectivism in terms of the big idea, Siemens and Downs, share that our brains are being rewired to make complex decisions within a rapidly changing digital world. And that learning results in what is called actionable knowledge. And so this is going to take some time. I am learning right along with you, but we need to rethink education. We have to think about this. Okay, what do we need to do in response to the fact that our brains are being rewired? Well, your kids' brains are being rewired right before your eyes. Any child that's holding something digital in his or her hands, trust me, that little brain is definitely being rewired and retrained to respond to the digital world. The kids know this so much better than those of us who are a smidge older. Just teeny tiny crow's feet. Okay, so big idea. Our brains are being rewired to make complex decisions within a rapidly changing digital world. And that learning results in actionable knowledge. So the content is altering as well. We have the Common Core, we have the literacy and math standards that are, becoming a nationwide phenomenon. But I think what needs to happen in terms of my own personal thinking is that if connectivism is telling us, all right, here's the content, it needs to be varied. It needs to be readily available in a free and open network, and the organization is now considered a learning organism. So the first part of that, once your kids are on the road in terms of their literacy skills and their math skills, you have got, as a teacher, you've got to get them plugged in to whatever it is that they are passionate about. So I think even elementary schools need to come up with a plan and say, okay, let's talk to our kids about, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are your skills? Let's do some multiple intelligence inventories and some personality inventories and see what are some future careers that are going to be great, both for your skill set, your interests, as well as your personality, and get them on a road, leading somewhere to some topic about which they feel ultimate passion. Now, are you going to be able to completely rewrite your curriculum so that all the boys can go into video game design? Okay, perhaps not. But there's a lot of great stuff out there in the Khan Academy. I mean, there are so many resources on the internet where you can get kids plugged into taking a course in German, taking a course in music, taking a course. There are so many things online, and I think it's our responsibility to begin tapping into this. And I know that some schools are doing it, but it's just not widespread enough, and it's not fair and consistent to all the kids everywhere. So we need to take this on. I need to take this on. I'm not even doing a good job with this, with my own child. If we're standing solidly within the realm of connectivism, what would we say our goal of education is for this paradigm? So what are we trying to achieve? Connectivism says that the goal is to overcome the tectonic shifts which can render information obsolete. So I put the soccer ball in the middle. We have our nodes, which is a huge part of connectivism. Nodes in the real world as well as nodes within our brains. This is sort of an international symbol here, these red, black, and gray parts, for the continental, the plates, the tectonic plates that exist underneath the surface of our world. And as these things move, the magma from underneath can push, it can cause our world to shift. If you've ever read about Pangea, you know about the tectonic shifts. So I think this is so interesting that this idea of a tectonic shift, which is very earth-based, it's very ground-based, being used within this paradigm, which seems almost otherworldly. So I love this because it grounds it in where we are and where we live and what our reality is. So the goal for connectivism, to overcome the tectonic shifts which can render information obsolete. So obsolete means it's not useful anymore. It's outdated. If you study coding, computer coding at all, I took a course on Free Code Camp, shared with me by my friend, Code Girl. Faith showed me Free Code Camp, and I started studying, and then I went to Udemy and studied under Colt Steele, and it was amazing how fast things became obsolete. I was using CSS, and while I was studying, I can't remember which one it was that shifted like midstream. And I called Code Girl and I'm like, which one do I use? Do I use, version 2 or version 3 or whatever it was? And she was still using the previous version as well. So it's like, as we were learning together, we had to make this shift and go back and rethink how we set up our HTML and CSS files because of this change. And this happens in so many disciplines. It doesn't necessarily happen in all disciplines because, if you're studying philosophy and you're looking back historically, Socrates was Socrates. There may be an historian who unearths a new piece of his work or looks at it in a new way. But some disciplines are a little bit more stationary than others. But everything changes. Change is the only constant in our world. Okay, so that was the goal. Who decides? Connectivism is all about the learner. We have, I keep saying me because I'm trying to take on as much of this paradigm as I can. But I think it is very important for all of us to pay attention to the learner. Teachers need to get to know the learners in their classrooms so that they can guide them to the appropriate materials. No longer is the teacher in the classroom expected to simply be the sage on the stage. Now there's a lot of technical stuff associated with being a good teacher, and a lot of that is knowing where to find the best information for a particular field. So it puts a lot of pressure on teachers because in any given classroom of how many kids, especially if you're a middle grades teacher, you're seeing a new set of 35 kids every 50 minutes. So, that adds up. Okay, so what's next? Next, we're talking about the how. How should learning take place in the classroom? Learning should be organized into discipline-based personal learning networks. Again, this is really different than what I see happening in the schools today. But I think that there's room for this. I think when I sub in the high school, just for something to do sometimes during the day, I noticed that we are still set up in little tiny blocks of time where first period you're going to focus on math, second period you're going to focus in on history. Well, I think that there's room within that schedule, within the high school students' schedule, to include free periods that can be called study periods, where they go to a computer lab and there is a teacher in there who is simply a technician, someone who is helping them find resources. Set them up on a computer, give them a set of good headphones, and let them just learn from people online. We have so many phenomenal teachers in this world. So if something isn't your strength and you don't feel confident, it should be okay for you to say, you know what? I'm going to find the best teacher out there, and I'm going to help my student connect to this amazing teacher. Use your parents. We have so many parents out there who want to get involved. Parents could come in as volunteers and scour the net and find these nodes, find these connections, like Free Code Camp, like Khan Academy, to help plug our students into the best of the best. I mean, even Harvard right now, you can go online and for free take a college course and listen to all the lectures at Harvard. It's amazing. So much good stuff out there. Problem being, the system right now is not set up in a way where teachers have time to do these kinds of things because they are so rushed. There's so much pressure on them. They have so much paperwork. So, if you're listening to this and you have power in the school systems, if you're somebody who is a politician who says, I'm for education, these are the kinds of things that you need to focus in on and help us make these changes, because a lot of us in the trenches, we have neither the time nor the power to make these changes. So if you know someone, you're watching this video and you know someone who is in a position of power to make these changes, give them this video and let them watch it. Point them in the direction of Seaman and Downs and say, this is the future. We need to get on board. Wow. Hello, soapbox. The horse, and it needs to be, no, I don't beat horses. I give them kisses. So instead of the old adage of beating a dead horse, I am kissing a sweet little baby goat. Oh, baby goats are so cute. All right, so how? Organized into discipline-based personal learning networks where students are taught to make connections among disparate nodes in the digital world. For the content, I chose this image of the book, of course, with the $ crossed out to show it should be free. But then I've also made this connection to a device because so much now is being communicated through an electronic medium instead of books, which makes me very sad, but happy at the same time because I do love the digital world. The big idea, I've chosen an image of the brain because our brains are being rewired to make these complex decisions, and my universal symbol within my own mind is a snap for decision making. The rapidly changing digital world, so I've added the code here with a file folder, kind of pulling that idea of schema in, and then you have the tectonic shifts happening in the background for this image. So hope that image helps you remember. For the goal, we have the soccer ball in the middle. These are all the nodes, and these are the tectonic shifts and the light bulb for innovate. Down here for the how, organized into discipline-based personal learning networks. And so I chose the little image of all the nodes, also used by Seaman and Downs to denote these connections. And so I put the student in the middle, and the student makes the connections between the different nodes. Moving on, what's the teacher's role in connectivism? It says, while teachers are no longer a necessity, I'm speaking evil. Mentors help students self-organize, connect to successful networks, repeated references, we've heard that several times, draw distinctions between important and unimportant information, and make connections between ideas, fields, and concepts. So this idea of self-organizing, I've used the file folders, and I am not seeing this as much, at least in my child's school. Last year, they gave him some pink pieces of paper with a brief little calendar on it. So he said to me, Mom, they've given me an agenda paper form, and they're going to be doing this all year and teaching us, so I don't need this calendar that you went and spent $10 on at Target. Much to my chagrin, 6 weeks later, I ask him, hey, where are those pink sheets? Oh, they stopped giving them to us. So I'm hoping that there are lots of places out in the educational world that this is still a priority. And if you're one of those schools or teachers who really focuses in on helping your kids self-organize, kudos. Help students self-organize, connect to, okay, so here's the connection, connect to successful networks, draw distinctions between important, and then here's the trash can for unimportant information, and then make connections between ideas, fields, flowers grow in the fields, and C for concepts, because I couldn't think of another thing for concepts. Probably because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, I need to finish this. Mentors help students self-organize, connect to successful networks, and draw distinctions between important and unimportant information, and then to make connections between ideas, fields, and concepts. Next, we need to ask ourselves about the role of the student in connectivism. And the text tells us that students should be expected to tap into and follow significant flows of information. So tap, water tap. So tap into and follow significant flows. Reflect and practice RAP. So I have my rapping guy here. I know. It's just bad, really bad. Find hidden patterns. And then this is also a mirror, so reflecting with the mirror. And recognizing, so he's spotting, the landscape is here for him, and he's recognizing when new information alters the landscape. And then 2 L's, he's popping up his sign here and saying LL for lifelong learner. Yeah, I know. What about inside the brain for connectivism? Connectivism posits that learning occurs naturally. Love that idea. Running all the way back to Romanticism. Learning occurs naturally as a result of exposure to the flows of information. This set of attitudes and actions helps connections form through associations among fields, ideas, and content. Among fields, ideas, and concepts. Should be ideas, fields, and concepts. I gotta fix that one. It's out of order. Last but not least, our theorists and theories, George Siemens and Stephen Downes. The C is here, and down like a down pillow, so that's my little image for them. I hope they enjoy it. I created it just for them. They'll probably be like, okay, crazy lady. Veil, like a wedding veil. Chaos theory is here. If you've never seen the first Jurassic Park, for shame, go back and right now. You need to go back right now and watch it. Because Malcolm teaches us a little bit about chaos theory. And then we have network theory, complexity theory, and communities of practice, COP. Anyway, so here are, Costa and Liebman. Cost. Yeah, I know. So hopefully these will help you remember some of the theorists and theories. Now, I'm familiar with communities of practice, and Siemens and Downes, now I'm familiar with them. I know a couple quotes by Costa and Liebman, not ever read anything by Veil, and other than Malcolm on Jurassic Park, I have not read chaos theory, or I haven't read network theory, complexity theory, or self-organization theory. I can probably make some connections between some of the tenets of these theories and things I've studied in the past, but this is new for me and I'm gonna have to go back. So make sure you go out and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that when those videos pop up, when I finish them, that's where I'm going to place them within YouTube rather than within Udemy, because I want to finish this course and put it up as an entity within itself. So there we go. That's Connectivism, and we have finished. Now all we have left to do is maybe watch a film clip or two, do our review, and start writing. Fantastic. Thank you for following me.